Good morning. You'll have to excuse the changes of outfit in this video to bring you the kind of content that I want. I will have to make my videos as an amalgamation of video clips that I've taken over time. In this video I want to talk about splitting firewood. There's a lot of homestead skills that since about 1940 I guess has been completely lost. Prior to that I guess it was pretty much common knowledge, splitting wood being one of them. In trying to relearn homesteading skills, or shall I say in trying to learn homesteading skills without anyone to actually really teach me, I had to go to the books, and in this past year and a half I've of course discovered YouTube, and I was watching Wrangler Star one day splitting wood, and though he didn't mention it, I was sitting there watching and I'm like, wait a minute, he's aiming for the edge of the chunk of wood, not the center. Growing up, we always used just a regular axe. I'm using a splitting axe here. We'd hit the chunk of wood in the center, throw it over our shoulder, and swing it over with the axe down, hoping to split the wood. Noticing that Wrangler Star was aiming for the edge of the chunk of wood, I decided to test it out. I realized that it's much easier to split the piece of wood if you aim for the edge rather than in the center. And this is what it's like trying to split a piece of spruce the way I was taught to do it. That could be dangerous. So you can see, you strike one edge, strike the opposite edge, strike the first edge again, strike the opposite edge. Spruce is more difficult to split anyway, being that it's a soft wood and it also has a lot of knots. Even after the initial splitting, here I'm splitting half of that large chunk. I'm still aiming for the edge, which means I'll be on the outer edge of the initial chunk first, and then at the what was the center of the chunk second. Of course, when you're just splitting wood on a chopping block like that, every time you strike the junk and it splits, you have to bend over and pick up the piece off the ground, set it up again, make sure it's stable and not going to fall over. Then there I missed, that was deliberate for the video. But if that happens, then you knock it over, you gotta pick it up, put it back again, pick it up, put it back, pick it up. Yeah, you can't split through a knot. So I came up with this. On the bottom is my chopping block, and I had these two tires laying around. I stacked them on the block and mounted the first to the block with deck screws. Then I mounted the second to the first with deck screws. And now I will show you why I did that. They don't fly off. I'm not continually having to bend over and pick them up off the ground. And not only that, if I had one that wasn't cut level so it wouldn't stand up, I can actually lean it against the edge here and split it. Don't have to worry about it falling off. Spruce and fir, as I mentioned, is much more difficult to split quite often than hardwood due to its soft fibers and the higher number of tree limbs, which translates into knots. Some people spend $2,000 or $3,000 on either a gas or electric powered log splitter, but there's a cheaper option, and it's not difficult. This is a metal wedge and a sledgehammer. So you notice there that I took an extra inspection of that chunk of wood before I decided where I was going to place the wedges to split it. One of the things I have to point out here, one of the reasons why spruce is so hard to split is the number of knots that will be in it. And to split a chunk of wood, the easiest way, you have to find a place where, when you look all the way down the junk, there's no knots. So you take your axe, and you start here. If we go now completely on the other side, now we can see that there's no knots completely opposite that space either. So our first attempt at splitting it should be right through here, facing one side through the pith out to the other side. If you try to split it here where there's a knot, the grain turns around the knot and makes it very difficult. That is the same for all types of wood. It's just that spruce has so much. Black spruce, my father used to say, you need to cut the limbs to get at the limbs. I didn't split that one through the center at first. The tree often grows faster on the sunward side. That results in a situation like this where the actual pith of the tree is not the center of the tree. However, the limbs still radiate out from the pith. So if you try to split a spruce through the center rather than the pith, more likely than not you're going to be trying to split through a knot. I drove the wedge right through quite a large knot. That's something that most of those homeowner log splitters can't do. So that's splitting wood from my perspective. I hope it was interesting. Click like if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next video.